So what did you think? Let's rank this film on the Cageometer.
So the big question, we'll start with Vince. Where does Grand Isle rate on your Cageometer?
Like I said, this has become one of my new favorite Nic Cage movies. It was just so absurd. You know, put aside all the issues that we had with it, like it was so absurd, but he was so captivating. Yeah, I loved when he was on screen. I loved when what's her name, Katie, was on screen.
Katie Strickland.
Yeah, Katie Strickland. I think she actually stole the movie personally. So I got to give it a 5. You know, it's not a great movie by any means, but I thought between how the movie was shot, because I think visually they did an amazing job shooting it. The color palettes and everything were very, very good for a low budget movie like it was. The acting with Katie and then just Nicolas Cage and his interpretation of this character, just crazy but not over the top. But he did give you those cagey moments that were just perfect, but they were dialed back. It was like a great blend, a great blend. So yeah, I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 10.
Okay, Nigel, where does this rate? Where does Grand Isle rate on your Cageometer?
It was a little tough for me because I almost wanted to call it a good movie, like a 6 out of 10. So like put it right on the cusp of being not a waste of time to watch it. Because I love Nicolas Cage's performance. I love Katie Strickland's performance. Buddy's performance it wasn't that great, but you know, the two other main leads, two main leads were captivating enough to enjoy their scenes in the movie. It was shot well. Cinematography we talked about was great. There was just like, if I wasn't watching this movie for this purpose of doing this podcast, I would not have finished watching the movie. And I cannot call a movie good if that's the case. Like for the first hour of the movie, I was like, this is so, it's like, there's so many cliches in it. There's so many, like, we've heard this type of a story before, you know, it's, why are they doing this? Why are they wasting our time with telling us this story that doesn't need to be told? Until the third act twist where it just goes off the rails and it was enough to pull me in and actually want to finish it. But again, that was because I was watching it. I had to watch it. I would not have finished this movie if it wasn't for that. And also there was just there's so much bloat in this film. And so much, like the characters are so, I want to say overwritten. There's so many facets and backstory about these characters that doesn't matter at all. They're complicated, they're complex, but in the end of the day, it doesn't impact what's going on in the plot and the story, and some of it actually runs counter to how the story actually ends up, that it muddies the whole message. And I did want to talk a little bit about like why these characters have ridiculously complicated backstories. Like it really did feel like a student like had an assignment to write complex characters, and then they got stuck into a plot that has nothing to do with those characters. It doesn't have any reason for those characters to be written. So I guess it's a lesson in, if you got to write complex characters, make sure they're in a plot that awards that or has a reason for the viewer being invested in those characters.
Maybe that was the idea, was like, I'm going to write the characters' backstories first, and then I'm just going to throw them into a room and make them all fucking interact with each other.
Right. And I mean, I get that's a good exercise, and I think any writer should do that. They should have, even if the whole character's backstory is not presented, the writer should know what it is. This was the opposite, where it's like the whole character's backstory is presented, it was given to the viewer, but it doesn't have any place in the story, so there's no point in doing it. So I gave it a 5 out of 10 as well. So it's still not in the awful, you know, it's right in the middle. It's right on the cusp of being something good and enjoyable. It has enjoyable parts, but the whole of it is worse than the sum of its parts.
Tighten up the story, and I think this would have definitely been a 6 or a 7 for me, but
you guys are making me feel like I went kind of harsh on this one. I kind of put the Wicker Man as kind of a bar of like, if the Wicker Man is a 4, I can't actually make Grand Isle a better movie than the Wicker Man, because the Wicker Man made sense. I mean, it had a beginning, middle, and end, and it actually kind of had a flow and made somewhat sense. It was corny and a lot of goofy shit happened, but like, this movie was, you know, like you guys said, the strong points were the way it was shot. I mean, it's a gorgeous movie from start to finish. I mean, it's just beautifully shot all the way through. The acting, you know, I felt like Kelsey Grammer was a little phoned in, and this was probably just a paycheck for him. And then Buddy was kind of like, he was there. I didn't feel like his performance detracted in any way, but I don't think it really added a whole lot. Nic Cage was Nic Cage, and you know, this is the whole reason we're doing this show is because Nic Cage and everything he does brings something to it that you're not expecting. I think that's really the beauty of him as an actor and why we love him so much, is that I just, you know, the here he goes, Mr. Negotiator, all of a sudden, like, that was not written like that. There's no way that okay, go completely outrageously over the top crazy for a second, and it's just to like spit and then just take a big suck off the cigar. The way he delivered the sucked your cock, you know, like that whole thing. Amazing. He was incredible, of course. Katie Strickland. I actually, the first time, I didn't really like her performance very much. I kind of felt like it was a little over the top, and it was a little like, I don't know, I didn't really like it. But then the second time I watched it, I actually kind of saw the nuances of her performance, and I thought that she was actually, like you said, she was kind of stealing the show. She was sort of the big bright spot in this movie. But I can't get over the story. The story is the worst part of this whole movie, and is just all over the place. Like, so many loose ends, so many plot holes, so many things that don't pay off, so many things that are in the movie for God knows what reason. And the whole twist at the end was just, it didn't make any sense. It's just, like you said, it just felt like they just added it in post. Like, okay, we're going to have this story that we didn't actually finish, because like they didn't really finish what the hell was going on. It's just okay. So Fancy's in a mental institution. Nic Cage suddenly, like, his whole motivation in life is to rail against the government and the way that they were treated. And
it really felt like it was just a half-assed, like, Rambo message or First Blood message at the end, where it's like, we didn't treat Vietnam vets the way they should have been treated, and this is what happens when you don't do that, and then when you as a person don't care about what you have in life, this is what happens. It was just like, the movie didn't feel like it earned that type of a message at the end.
No, they were holding people captive. Like, you're not a good guy here.
Why is he the voice of moral authority for our young protagonist to take away the right lessons from?
Right. Like, you're not a good guy. Your time, like, you can't use your time in Nam because you didn't have any. You didn't even, like, what did he say? Like, he got injured like right away when they got deployed. So
he never saw any action.
It was
whatsoever.
Like a training exercise. He got shot by a friendly fire,
like a grenade went off,
and shrapnel. That's it.
So it's not like you can really sit there and say that like your time in the military gave you this perspective, because it wasn't. You didn't have it. Now I understand the survivor guilt piece of it, but still doesn't really justify his trying to be the moral compass of the story. Especially given the awful things he has done since his time coming back from Vietnam.
All that being said, it's a really fun movie. Nic Cage is Nic Cage. I saw some review where somebody said, like, if you're a fan of Nicolas Cage and his acting antics, you'll love this movie. It's not the best movie, but it's like, if you need a movie and you got nothing else to watch, Grand Isle is a pretty good watch. So I can't give it a better rating than The Wicker Man, so I gave it a 3. So 2 5s and a 3, that gives us a little over a 4 for this one, which is actually a better rating than The Wicker Man, which is actually really surprising. I will say, like, this movie surprised me in a lot of different ways, because I did not expect it to be a fun movie. I thought it was going to be a really shitty movie, because it was a 0% for one. And I knew nothing about it, heard nothing about it. Even the trailer doesn't really tell you what the hell's going on. So ultimately it ended up being a really fun movie. So I still would recommend it to other people.
I think it was a fun watch. I didn't watch the trailers, didn't read anything. I wanted to go in 100% blind, and I mean from the very beginning, I knew this was going to be a crazy ride, and it did not disappoint. It was fun. It was a lot of fun, and unlike I felt like in Wicker Man, he kind of mailed in his performance a lot of the time.
For
like,
sure.
We talked about it was like very wooden, kind of stale.
Yeah.
This I felt like he was trying to be this person in some, in whatever bizarre way that he does when he's acting. And sometimes it felt really good. Like it felt like he was really nailing the idea that he had. Then other times it was typical Nic Cage, where it was just, it was absurd.
Every single Nic Cage performance is unique. I mean, every time he goes out, the dude swings for the fences. And sometimes, that's the whole debate with Nic Cage. It's like some of the movies really fall flat, and some of the movies are like Oscar-worthy, just brilliant performances. So this one is somewhere in between. I feel like, I thought he was great. He's never going to win an Oscar for this, but I thought it was a great role.
No. Kelsey Grammer was just a name that they put on the box. He was not. He did not add or detract anything from that movie. I was disappointed. I thought he'd have more.
Same.
More of a. More
I wasn't expecting a lot.
He was in it more than I was expecting. I actually thought it was going to be like the first scene. The guy would be telling him the story, and that was going to be the end of it. And then maybe he'd pop back in at the end and be like, "Wow, that's a lot of crazy things that happened there."
Right.